Welcome back to Reynolds Runabouts, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Reynolds, and today I'm going to start screwing and gluing this plywood Akume deck onto the 1960 mystery boat. I wanted to get the steering gear taken care of first because there was a lot of access that I needed before I put the deck on. And I even made it easier someday if somebody had to go back in and do some work, they would be able to do it. But I didn't want to crawl under the deck, so I did it this way. I didn't do the electrical yet because it isn't going to be that difficult for me to do the electrical even with the deck on. So in a future video, I'll show you how I did the running gear, meaning steering wheel, cables, and motor hookup with pulleys, and then how I did my electrical as well. So today I'm going to get at putting this deck on and then moving on to the finish stage. So let's get to work. The original deck, while it looks pretty okay, is delaminating from the bottom. And I'm just not comfortable trying to put a new surface on this and have it match the dashboard or the rebuilt engine well. So I'm going to go with brand new Akume marine plywood, 5/8. And I have the patterns, thankfully. Some boats you don't have that luxury. These should be book matched, these two deck pieces. They're not. This one's a little bit bigger, and this one's a little bit shorter for some odd reason, even though it doesn't line up. As you can see, it doesn't line up real well on the frame. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of finagling there to see why. It's most important that the king plank, which goes right here, is in the center. And if I shorten this one up, it should bring it back just I think it's like a quarter of an inch. It's not a lot, but it could be expected. A home built, not everything's perfect, rule of thumb. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one because this one matches up to its original holes pretty well. This one does not, and even though it's smaller, it seems to be too big, which is really strange. So I'm going to put I'm going to emphasize being even. The king plank will always be even, and then I'll make these two match the king plank. So I can always do a little bit of modifying. This one, these two here are real seams, so these will have caulking in them that will probably do mahogany. I'll do white paint, like I always do over the mahogany 5200. So that'll be a 5200 seam. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one because it seems to be the truest at this point, and it's really good where it lands. It's kind of in the middle of this frame, which is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one and start getting going on this. I know over here I might need to put a spline to make up some rot that was out and near a fairing and repair area, so that's fine. I can put a spline into this. This is black, so I can put a spline in there and fair it, and you'll never even know it was there. And it's just part of putting in replacement wood, which I'd rather do than just seam compound or fairing compound, which I don't think is a great idea. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one, and then I'm going to do this one, try to match it up with this frame, and then get my king plank in there so I know that this is all looking. The important thing is it looks good. The frames could be a little off, but the deck has to be straight and the seams have to be straight. That's what people are going to see. So that'll be my focus. So off to work I go. On this project, I know that I want the straightest edge, which is the factory edge of this plywood. I want that to be on the middle of the boat. If I get this straight, I get the other one straight, and then the king plank should be even. These are the areas that I'm going to do my modifications. So I went over here and gave it a quarter of an inch because it's nice to have a little extra. And this stuff is very expensive, so I don't want to have to do it twice, even though I do have backups. Now, this is going to be the edge that's probably the most inaccurate. It was near the covering board, and the rot was there. I modified that covering board. This could have gotten modified. It's just really important that I leave a little extra on this. So I'm going to put my pencil in here and just go straight up and down, which will give me plenty. I could even put, if you wanted to put a fatter pencil, you could do that. I'm just going to give this a nice 1/4 inch lean. Because like I said, it's a whole lot easier to take this off than to have to cut a new piece and waste it. Even though I probably could use that. I could use this for one of the smaller deck pieces. That's why I always start with the big pieces first. If you screw up, you can move them into the secondary uses of small pieces. So I've got this done. I'm not going to worry about doing screw holes. I will line the deck. When I get it on there, I'll take measurements and know exactly where the screw hole should go. So off this goes. Looks good. I have a little bit here I know I can shave off. But I also know that I've got some here to shave as well, so it'll fit in real nice, and then it'll fall right on the old fastener holes right there. So I much rather have that than have it too short. I'll show you how I do that. I just use this Stanley Sureform. It's like a little plane. I've heard people build entire boat projects out of plywood just using this, no planes. So this does a really good job of taking off just a little bit at a time. Give it a little angle like a regular plane, and you can just take enough off without screwing up this edge. Now remember, this edge is also going to be a seam, so there'll be a slight angle put on that, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I bought a tool. They use it for cutting sun deck, that kind of that cushiony, flexible foam you can put on your deck. Looks like planks. Well, you can also use it for plywood, and it has an angle on it. And what I'll do is I'll adjust that blade down so it's kind of like a scoring blade. So eventually I'll sit at this angle and I will score this edge off with the blade. Got to get it closer, but it will take a fine shaving right off there and give me this line that will look like the original, just a little bit of indentation, and then I'll put paint in there, and well, varnish it really heavy, then the paint will have a slight recess into there, and then I'll put a final coat of varnish over it. You can't use a router on this, it'll tear it out. You can use you try a very fine tipped circular saw. I've seen guys do that. There's lots of ways you could try to score it. I just think that this will be easier and it won't have any tear out possibilities. And then I'll have to go in and fine sand that, which would also be tough. So I'm ready to put the king plank in first. I've got it ready to go. This is the new king plank. It fits the bevel on the front and the bevel on the dashboard hood. It's right down the middle. This is a 6-inch king plank. It's going to be black. It's going to be a huge focal point for the boat, and it has to be straight because that's what people are going to see, that big black stripe, and then they're going to see the white lines. So it's important to get all those right. And what I'm going to do, in deference to the original design of the deck, I'm going to try to follow the holes of the original owner as much as I can, just to make sure, it looks good. It's, it could go anywhere, but the holes are kind of lined up in a pattern that kind of make a sweep around each side. So I'm going to try to do that. I know where I want to put my bow light, dead center, just where I want it. And then I'll just go ahead and put little marks in for all of these old fastener holes. And then I will start with that. And then when I do the side pieces, I'll follow that pattern using their template as well and try to get that sweeping look of the fasteners that'll be plugged. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this and then fasten this down. To do the countersink into the plywood for the plug, and I do plug plywood decks. I've done several now. It can be done. I'm going down, it looks like I'm at least, um, it's a 5/8 ply, so there's 5 layers. And I'm getting probably at the very top of the third is where I stop. And what I did is I set my bit, countersink bit, for a 1 inch is what I'm using, a 1 inch fastener, silicon bronze. And I hit the shoulder of where the countersink stops. When I see that disappear, I know that I've gone down enough to leave a countersink that I can get a plug into, which I'll cut later out of, I'll get some really light stock to try to match the plywood and then put them in with glue and shave them off and they'll be fine when I sand it. So I put one in. I know where the other one's going. I just stop, blow it. I see the shoulder disappear. I look at it, and I can kind of see the layers. I know I've got to go a little bit more. I'm kind of looking for the white layer, and I can see that here now. And then go over and get my 1 inch. And these are Frierson tip. These are what Chris Craft used. It's a special bit, kind of like a Phillips, but deeper and sharper. And I just slowly get it in there. Sometimes I'll even use construction screws when I do the layup just to get it so you don't, because these can be bored out pretty easy. You have to be careful. So I'm going to go in slow and steady. And this is a little bit proud. So I might go in there and shave that shoulder down a little bit on this edge. What I do not want is to shave a bunch of plywood because I'll end up getting I might get to the second layer. And this is black and this is clear or red, so I cannot sand that very much. And if anything, I'll put fairing compound right here to get up to that if I can't fair underneath. You can always get it underneath and it'll lie flat. This one is perfect. Here it's a little bit high, so I'll probably go in there and shave that down. When I get it all done, I'll look around for, like, this is the cut edge. Here's factory edge, here's cut edge. I will go down there with a piece of sandpaper on a pad and get that straightened out with a straight edge. And then I'll do some doctoring underneath that and make sure it's perfect. And then I won't do any gluing until I'm ready to put all of them on. I could do sections and I might just do that, but I'll do 3 pieces of this deck before I do any 5200 with fasteners for permanent, and then move on to the other sides. Now that I've got my king plank in, this is my basic reference point going forward. And you can see, if you look close, both of them have some cut marks, even though this is the factory edge. So this is probably the last piece I'm going to touch. I will reference this piece, sand these out with the block, sliding down this Carlin and getting that dialed in so it matches this edge. Then I'll go to the outside edge and just sneak my way in until it follows the rabbet in the covering board. And yeah, that'll take some time, but the boat is custom, and I know it's going to take a little customization on my end to get it to fit correctly. And knowing that this one is not exact, I know that this is a good reference point. More than likely, this will come out better going forward. But again, using paint stripes, we're talking like 1/8 of an inch, so it's not going to be a lot anyways. And if you use the right optics, you can get it to fix. And then, of course, if you needed a little filler or a spline on the rabbet, I would put one in, which I might do over there. I can do that because that'll get covered with paint. So going forward, I'm gonna start working on this, and then I'll get to this one. Took the just took my little sander and I just snuck in on this edge. I did this one first because then I knew if this was proper, that was proper, this would be the one I had to work on. So I went ahead and just did that. She fits down in there nice. Yeah, I'm ready to put the fasteners in. Probably get some, maybe take a little off this edge and make sure it's all nice and it fits down there nice. And put some fasteners in and get this side done and then start working on the port side. Well, I've got the deck down, probably about half the screws that I need to put in. I don't need them all in. I did them every other one except for the beams, which help the bend. And then the seam on the edge is every other as well. So laid down really well. I'm really happy. It's flush with the covering board, which means that I don't have to take out stock on the bottom edge of the plywood. Otherwise, because you can't build this up very much, but you can certainly take it off the back. Very happy about that because you do not want to. I'd rather have this be proud because you do not want to sand into that plywood. The veneer is there, but it's limited. So yeah, I like what I see. Port side will be just like this. Flip it over. I've got the pattern. Make it a little bit bigger. I might even put a cardboard pattern together for that one because I don't really trust that, and the cardboard is really going to give me what I want anyway. So I will use that for the holes, which is why I wanted to make sure the pattern was like the builder had done. So I'm going to get back and to work on doing the port side. Here's an example of that I have to show you. In order to do this piece, there's two pieces on the aft deck. Each side has a real roll to them. You can really see it here. So I'm not going to try to flatten it out on my board. I went and got my flexible upholstery cardboard that upholsterers use to do interior upholstery panels and then are just screwed into the interior of the car. This is how they back it. So what I'm going to do, give myself a little extra. This is a pretty good pattern. I just checked it. It's really perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and just get it. This is the straight edge that runs along the rabbet, I'll call it, on the covering board. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to make two pieces, a little one here. I'm just going to roll it, figure out where the edge is, and I'm going to roll it to find where the true curvature pattern would be. So keeping my pen straight up, that'll give me a little extra room. I've just rolled it. This would be like if I rolled it around the pattern on the outside or inside. I'm doing the same thing. So it'll be more accurate because I'm not going to be able to flatten this. So you got to do it one way or the other. So I'll pull this off now and I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Try it on the boat, dry fit it, and then I will cut it out of this Akume plywood. There, nice fit. I left a little overhang on here, but that's fine. I've also got to dress up the edge on the other plank. I have a good fit. I'll take a straight edge and mark that again. I think it's pretty good already, but I'll mark it and then sand it to fit. And then I'll go and cut this one. So when I go and do my 5200 and screw for plywood, I've already dry fitted everything on this boat. And I know exactly where the holes are. The holes are already in the frames, and nothing is going to be different than when I did it before. A lot of extra work, but well worth it when you know that that screw is going to go in. And if by chance I have a shallow screw, wood tears out in the frame, I can just grab um, an inch and a quarter or an inch and a half. And I'm a big favorite of Fairwind fasteners. I've used them on a couple boats now. Really happy with the quality. Silicon bronze, Ferguson head, really good customer service. Finally broke down about the t-shirts, and I can walk among you and represent Fairwood fasteners. So real happy with these guys. I also am using the 3M brand marine adhesive 5200, affectionately known as 5200 to most people in the trade, and even carpenters use it too. I'm going to use white because none of this is going to show. I would usually use mahogany if I had a tendency to want to see, there might be a little bit of brown. It would be too dark for this boat. This boat is getting natural uh, application, so it's going to get sealer and then varnish. I'm going to have any stain. So that would stick out even more. Now, I do have a couple tubes I keep around just for somewhere where I might think a mahogany is a lot better than a white. But on this boat, like this area between the king plank and the two port and starboard deck pieces, this gets a big black stripe down the middle. And what I want not to do is put 5200 on the surface of this butt joint, because it'll be rubbery and it won't ever sand the way I want it to sand. I want it to be flat. So what I'm going to do is go in to these areas with very little purpose of putting adhesive in these butt joints. You don't need a lot anyways, and I don't want it because I'm going to go back and I'm going to fill that with total fair uh, um, fairing compound so I get a nice flat surface. So just being upfront about that. Also, I'm going to, every time I do a panel, I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to do one panel at a time, and I'm not going to be in a rush. I'm going to maybe do this over a few days. This stuff will cure slowly. I can put a rubber glove over the tip, and it'll be fine for the next couple days. And then I'm going to dive under the deck, and I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to be very careful about how much I put on the frame tops, but I'm also going to be very purposeful about going under the deck and cleaning up any drips that look bad. I want it to look like maybe have a small, um, fillet, but not much. And then I'm going to go back under there eventually, and I'll put red paint over all the white that I can see. I want you to be able to look under that deck and say, oh, look, it's all red. So I have plans to go back under the deck just for touch-ups eventually. So that's the plan going forward. I'm going to use my driver with a McPherson tip, and I'm going to goop up the frames. I'm going to be careful about how much I put on. I'm going to put these down. I'm going to make sure they're all registered. And I'm going to register the other two as I start, just so I know everything's perfect. And then I can go ahead and, just start sending those screws. So I'm going to get at it. So here's an example of where I want to use mahogany versus white. Here's a mahogany piece of wood that's dark, and it's going to butt up against this new plywood. And I can't put any fairing compound in there, and I don't want to use epoxy. So this will be a good substitute, and it'll come very close to this when it's wet, meaning with varnish. And it's a better alternative than what I've got for anything else. The butt joint is a butt joint. It's going to have a little bit of gap there, as tight as I like to make it. So I'm going to put this in here, and then I will put white on the rest of them, just so I have the stuff that I'm planning on using. It's an old tube, so I'm not sure. I don't think there's even that much in here. No. Right to the bitter end. All right. Take two. Just gonna lay it in here. I'm gonna make sure that where I know where the stripe is, which is about here, there's a black, the black continues, so I'm gonna stay right over in here. And then here I'm gonna bump up. I'm not gonna worry about getting any 5200 up in my area where it's gonna get epoxy, because I know this area is certainly not gonna get it. Remember the white stripe or the black stripe down the middle here on the king plank? I'm gonna leave that open. It's gonna be really cool to see all the paint on this deck. It's gonna be done in natural, and then we'll go ahead and should do it. Yeah, a little more here. Do it natural and put that black stripe down the middle and on the cove or the combings sides. It's really gonna be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this first piece ready. I've got to do the white now. I'm gonna put a rubber glove over the tip of this and keep it safe. So now I have to lay down the white. Again, I've got my, I'm going to put epoxy in here, so I don't need to get it up too close. And then when I put those on, I'm going to be very quick to get that covering board or the king plank in there as well. I'll smooth this out with a putty knife a little better. Nice warm day here in northern Michigan, so this will really take off quick. Which is good, which is why I'm doing them one at a time. I don't really feel like I'm in a rush. Try to keep it out of the corner. You know, because when you're gluing and screwing, you got, suspenders and belt going on here. And it's going to definitely be on there. I don't have to worry about it coming off. I think I'm going to push this. There we go. My nozzle is having some issues here. Hope I don't lose it. All right. Put a little up in here. So I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to get ready to go ahead and put this first sheet down and get at it. So for this part, I'm going to take my gloves off because I don't really want, there, look at that nice 5200 mahogany down in this seam. That's what I want. Yeah. Not sticking up here, good. I can already feel it, just the cushion, which is nice. So I put the glue away temporarily, grab the appropriate fastener. I'm going to start out with ones. I need some 1 1/4. I got them ready. So I'm going to just start where I know I've already tested this one before, and I want to make sure this will be my first one. I've left enough shoulder there for bungs later on. So I'm going to go over to a corner here. I want to register the corners. Got a little bit of white too much, but you can go in there and take that out with a utility knife and cut it out, and then I'll just make a V and clean that up. But I only see that in that one area. And I'm just going to walk around and find the areas that I want to get first, like, you know, up in the corners. Because they're already been pre-drilled, I'm not worrying about walking the plywood from edge to middle. I already know the holes are there. So I'm just going to go ahead and just start putting them in to get it flat. Okay, there's a dud. There's a dud, so I'm going to have to put a longer one in there. Probably got bored out. There. So I'm going to keep doing this, working my array around and get this done, and then I'll walk around and do some cleanup, which is minimal at this point. I'm hoping the bottom underneath is just as well. So I'll be back shortly. So that went as well as expected. So I had a couple duds, but I marked them. I'll put in a longer screw. Sometimes it's just easier to leave it for now because you'll drag up some of that 5200 and possibly get it on the deck, which you can get out with denatured alcohol. I use that instead of acetone. Acetone works. Denatured alcohol is a whole lot easier to work with. I feel a lot safer around it, and I don't have to wear a mask just because of ventilation. With acetone, I don't feel comfortable at all. Certainly not on your hands. And it's cheaper. So when I have stuff like this, try to move it around a little bit, knowing that I can come in here and get this with denatured alcohol. Just trying to fill that seam like I intended. This is going to get a little bit of sanding, but not much. I want this to kind of be the surface that you see when that natural stain goes on. And these are palette knives. Really nice. You can really work with 5200 really well. Make sure I don't mix my media here, white and mahogany. And when you do, wipe it off. So I just keep a rag of 5200 kind of, denatured alcohol. I'll just push it. I find you have a lot more control if you push it. Caulk guns, palette knives. I don't have a lot. In fact, I probably need to have more. So I'm going to go in here delicately with my extra 5200. I'm just going to fill these seams so I'm satisfied with them. I really want that to be full. Because the only thing after this is going to be sealer and varnish. So I really need this to be full of 5200. I'm going to clean up a little bit, add a little here, and then, like I said, you just take the cloth and you can rub on it, being careful not to make it worse than it is. And you can sand this, so there's enough of this veneer here I could sand, but I'm going to try to get as much as I can off so I don't have a lot. I really don't want to push this any further out onto the perimeter than I have to. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to get on to the second, third, fourth, the rest of the panel. So it'll be straightforward. I'll probably just do some time lapse and you can watch, but that's really all there is to it. The real work, obviously, as you saw in the previous clips, was just making the pieces, especially on the edges. So I'm going to get this done, and I'll come back and we'll finish up with some last minute comments. So there you go, folks. The deck is now glued and screwed. I'm going to do a little more cleanup, but not a whole lot. I've got squeeze out that I need to clean up along the inside of the combing, and then at that seam, that butt joint. But after that, I'll let this cook for several days. I'll do other things while it firms up. This is a couple days ago, and it's already really good. It's to the point where you could sand it, cut it and sand it. So gonna call this video done, and thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the videos, please hit the subscribe button. If you're enjoying it to the point where you think it's worth a like button, please hit it. Yeah, it's always nice to receive positive feedback. And the next project on this boat will be to put the bungs in. There's about 400 bungs on this boat. Some of them won't get bungs. This is paint, so this will get fairing compound, but right next to it are bungs. So all the clear areas get bungs put in, and then I'll have to shave those off and sand them. I'll show you how to do that. And I'll also be putting the lines on the boat using a tool that I'm going to try, see if it works, because I need to have shallow grooves. Then I put the paint inside the grooves, and then when I get done, I'll put varnish on them. Just before the last coat of clear varnish, I'll put the paint in the grooves. So looking forward to that and getting finish on this boat. So I'll see how far I get, but you know, you put bungs in once and you shave them, it's really not too much after that. So I'll probably throw in the finish portion of the boat as well, so we can see what the boat looks like from this to finish. So I'll see you in 2 weeks for probably a video on the Lake and Sea I'm working on. Probably a month for this, because finish takes a long time to do, and I mean, it would be boring to watch. So I'll throw a Lake and Sea video in there in 2 weeks, and I'll see you in a month on this one. Thank you for tuning in.